GQ, Gentleman's Quarterly. These guys are desperate for views and attention. They're not relevant in current year. They're clearly going after the type of guys who are still blinded by pursuit of pussy. So they don't like it when guys walk away. It hurts their bottom line. The men going their own way movement is the Taliban of the manosphere. Now, I love these comparisons. I still remember fucking 5, 6, 7 years ago, the tradcucks are always saying that, oh, Mgtow is just like the men's version of feminism, which is absolute bullshit. And I'm going to explain why. Feminism cannot exist unless they force everyone into their ideology. It's not like you have feminists just minding their own business, wanting to be left alone. They are actively campaigning and agitating and trying to force their beliefs on everybody. Mgtow, on the other hand, are just a group of guys that are just throwing their hands up saying, I'm done. Just go away and leave me alone. So you got a group of guys who just wants to be left alone to live their lives in peace, not only being compared to feminists, and again, feminism cannot even exist without the use of force to push that ideology, but also the Taliban. Right, a group of guys who is not playing the game anymore and they just want to be left alone are somehow literally the Taliban, huh? Already from the title of this article, these idiots are reaching so hard. But don't be complacent. Their virulent misogyny is going mainstream. Oh, man. Now, I got to look back. I got to hit up people who know Japanese to look back through like Japanese archives. Were they saying this about the herbivore men too? Just a group of guys who aren't interested in playing the rigged game anymore and just want to live their lives in peace. Somehow that's virulent misogyny and literal terrorism. Out on the wilder shores of the manosphere, they talk constantly about the red pill and the blue pill, derived from a scene in The Matrix. Taking the blue pill lets you live your life in blissful ignorance of the monstrous reality of the wicked world, while necking the red pill opens your eyes to reveal the awful truth. Now, unlike with The Matrix, however, if you take the blue pill, most guys get red pilled anyway. I have lost count of the number of guys I have known personally who swore up and down that, oh, my woman is not like that. Or what was it Terrence Popp says? She loves me. Claimed I was full of shit. Oh, you're just missing out. You're going to be miserable. Oh, you don't know what you're missing. Be a real man. And then 2 or 3 years later, he's being reamed in divorce court. So the same shit I warned these guys about, by the way, that they claimed it was just a conspiracy theory. And, oh no, the courts aren't that biased. Those guys just fucked up somewhere. And then they get red-pilled hard. Their wives divorced them after they were caught cheating. Take the kids, take the house, take the car. Dude's now working 2 jobs to keep paying the bitch. And the most amazing thing is, after all that, they're still like, oh, well, I just got the wrong one. I'm going to try again. No. When will you idiots realize the problem isn't women? The problem is the system. The problem is the family courts. The problem is the legal system. As long as the legal system continues to throw men to the wolves and do anything to protect milady, even if you find the perfect unicorn, it's not worth the risk. So dream world or real world, it's your choice. As the rebel leader Morpheus, Lawrence Fishburne, explained it to Neo Keanu Reeves in 1999, you take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. It goes all the way down. But out in the manosphere, far too often a digital sewer for 50,000 shades of misogyny, taking the red pill means that a guy has to open his eyes to the bitter truth about whammons. Namely, whammons are not simply pieces of meat. Whammons are pieces of poisoned meat, and they will lie about you, end your career, suck your bank account dry, wreck your life, and send you to a cell with some other blameless soul that got on the wrong side of the sisters, like that nice Harvey Weinstein. Oh my God. So much projection right here, too. Wasn't Harvey Weinstein a male feminist? Yeah. Yeah. A real interesting thing to think about right there, huh? And I used to argue against people that spewed bullshit like this. But right now, I just don't even care anymore. But you know what? I gave you the warning. You choose whether or not to heed my warning. But don't come crying to me when it blows up in your face. So the analogy I always use is like, I am a guy that has a nice little cabin right on the border of a minefield. And I'm sitting there in my rocking chair with my shotgun like any other redneck. And I'm watching people walk by into the minefield. And everyone who walks by, I warn them. It's like, hey, there's a minefield over there. You may not want to walk there. And some people are like, oh, damn, I would have missed that if you wouldn't have told me. Thank you. And they turn around and live happily ever after. But most people flip me the bird and tell me to go fuck myself. What are you talking about? I see utopia on the other side of that minefield. You're just trying to stop me from being happy. You're trying to stop me from finding happiness. I'm not going to listen to you. Okay. I warned you. You can choose to listen or not. I'm not going to tell you how to live your life. It's your choice. I will not get in your way. Feel free to cross the minefield. A rare few people make it to the utopia on the other side and live happily ever after as well. But the vast majority of those who enter the minefield, they get like halfway through it and boom. And then they're screaming to me from the middle of the minefield, why don't you come in here and help me? You're supposed to care about what happens to me, right? Where are you when I need you? Motherfucker, I already warned you that was a minefield. I did my part. I owe you nothing further. I am not going to risk my life running into that minefield to save your sorry ass. You're on your own. You made your choice the moment you ignored my warning. Now shut the fuck up. I'm trying to enjoy my tea. I remember when Barbarossa was still active. Yeah, he had a similar real life story about that. Now, there was this trad cuck constantly going around the Mgtow channels talking shit about how it's like, oh, it's just a bunch of fucking pussies that can't get laid, a bunch of incels. Oh, be a real man like me. Oh, I have my woman under control. She knows who's boss. She would never do something like that to me. And then a few months later, he was getting raped in divorce court. And then he was crying to the same people he was just insulting. Why don't you guys help me? Where are you? I need help. Look, I'm going broke. I need you to donate to my GoFundMe and all this shit. And they just laughed him off. It's like, fuck you. After all the shit you were talking, you think we're going to help you? We tried to help you, and you slapped our hand away. So fuck you. We are not going to put our time, money, and finances on the line for these idiots. You had your chance, and you blew it. The red pill represents a new phase in online misogyny, wrote Donna Zuckerberg, author of Not All Dead White Men. Red pill believers, says Zuckerberg, not only mock and belittle whammons, they also believe that in our society, men are oppressed by whammons. Ah, my God. In the legal system, yes. But the difference between, again, Mgtow and feminism, Mgtow is nothing but saying, take your ball and go home. We're not going to play a rigged game. The feminists, on the other hand, They have to force their beliefs on everybody. From the incels to the PUAs, nobody on the manosphere is quite as obsessed with the red pill concept as the boys in Mgtow, who aspire to live their lives without contact with whammons. Some do, but the vast majority don't care. It's not that they try to live their life without contact with whammons. It's that they just don't do the relationship thing. That's it. So the Mgtow who achieve total enlightenment are said to be going monk, which does what it says on the tin. Going monk is the black belt and giving up whammons. Not just whammons, you're giving up a lot of things. Yeah, they sometimes call this ghosting as well, where you completely drop out of society if you can. That's actually my end goal. Because society is going to complete shit. And every time I try to help, I just get smacked down. So at this point, I've just thrown my hands up. Like, fine, I'm not going to try to help anymore. I'm just going to distance myself from the ensuing dumpster fire. I'm going to be as far away from the coming explosion as I can. And I'm just going to enjoy the show. I'm just going to make sure you idiots can't drag me down with you. You're on your own. Some Mgtow have platonic relationships with women. So what does that say about your previous point about who aspire to live their lives without contact with women, huh? I swear these people are fucking stupid. While others keep transactions strictly commercial with sex workers. If you want to get laid, there's two good ways of doing it. If you got the game, one night stands at the bar. If you don't, just pay for it. It's a lot cheaper. But what you notice about all of them is that they never stop talking about women. Okay, this point, I will concede that point. A lot of guys who claim to be Mgtow, they cannot shut the fuck up about women. This is a valid criticism, in my opinion. Now, I understand if you're still in the red pill rage stage, like you were just woken up to this, probably through personal experience. But the point is, eventually, you're supposed to get over it. You're supposed to move on. Stop talking about women and start talking about things you enjoy. So this is a very valid criticism of a lot of Mgtow, unfortunately. So men sharing their lives with girlfriends, wives, and daughters never devote this much time to thinking, talking, and obsessing about women. At first glance, the official Mgtow website looks like a cross between a trailer for an action movie and a cry for help. Ejecting silly preconceptions and cultural definitions of what a man is promises the Mgtow mission statement. Refusing to bow, serve, and kneel for the opportunity to be treated like a disposable utility. Fair enough. Hey, at least they concede that. And for a moment, you can imagine a digital universe where men are uplifted by sharing the secrets of their soul. That's what I try to do, actually. Now, before anyone points out, it's like, oh, but you talk about women. Like, yes. If I see a funny article that confirms everything I've been talking about for 7+ years, you're damn right I'm going to talk about it. When I get a chance for some schadenfreude, you're damn right I'm gonna fucking jump on that shit. I'll be all over that shit like a fly on a turd. It's real good for my channel too, by the way. Those are still always my best performing videos. So I have selfish reasons to keep going back to certain topics. But you notice that I don't dwell on this shit? I only bring it up when it's in context. All right, but it took, about 90 seconds for Mgtow to turn this brother's stomach. Put a bitch in her place, asks one forum, unleash the beef. Oh, God. No, see, my view towards, well, I was going to say women. It's more like towards Mgtow haters. Just treat them like I say you treat any other NPC. Just stop interacting with them. Don't give them the time of day. Yeah, just don't bother. It's not worth it. If you keep letting your haters live in your head rent-free, they've won. Just walk away. A few sad, embittered losers in a dusty nook of the internet. If only. One Mgtow vlogger has more than 90 million views for his YouTube videos, including criticize her and she will destroy your career, while that glossy Mgtow website has knocking on for 800,000 replies and more than 50,000 anti-women's topics. So this is called supply and demand. A lot of guys out there, they talk about this because there's a demand for it. Other guys want to hear it. Now, to those guys who have been in this group for years, it seems like it's all repetitive shit because they've heard it before. And they have heard it before, to be fair. But maybe a new guy is hearing it for the first time. So I can see the value of reiterating a lot of these points. But I decided this shit wasn't for me. Yeah, some people ask like when I'm going to start talking about these topics again. Like I've already said everything I have to say about it. I'm one of those guys that I want to move on. I don't want to dwell on this shit. I've already said it. I've said all I have to say. I'm done. Now, I will go back to some of these topics when there is a relevant current year article like this one. But otherwise, I don't care. My life is going great right now, food poisoning aside. I don't have the time to waste on bottom feeding losers that do nothing but hate on me. I don't care about them. I'd rather forget they even exist. I could waste my day dwelling on these bottom feeders, or I could work on Blade Devil. I could work on my YouTube channel. I could work on one of my secret upcoming projects that are going to be launching soon. I could be doing that instead. Yeah, it's pretty obvious what I'm going to choose to do. So that's a lot of misogynistic madcaps. Mgtow resemble men's rights activists more than incels and PUAs, wrote Laura Bates, author of Men Who Hate Whammons. This alleged man is getting all of his opinions from women. So let that sink in. That should tell you all you need to know about this guy. He's getting all of his opinions about men from women. Isn't this what like TFM and Terrence Popp call a case of bitch brain? Both groups believe that whammons pose an immediate threat to all men. MRAs believe that whammons are so unfaithful and untruthful that they often force men to raise other men's children, thus financially cuckolding them. That's not a lie, though. Mgtow believe that whammons are extremely likely to make false accusations of sexual and domestic violence in order to damage men socially, steal their money, or even have them jailed. Oh, because there's never been a high-profile case of that happening. Nah. Maybe if you guys, if you want to make arguments, quit bringing up things that we can actually prove true. Maybe if these false accusations weren't a problem. So actually, do you know how we can fix these problems? How about you actually punish the false accusers a lot more harshly? Then this wouldn't even be a problem anymore. If false accusers knew that they were taking a big risk when they made a false accusation, they wouldn't make false accusations anymore. You could fix this problem right now just by holding women accountable. And the usual bullshit they say is like, oh, but only like 1 or 2% of accusations are false. So first off, that statistic is a lie, but I've covered that multiple times already. So in keeping with my point from earlier, I'm not going to beat that dead horse. But more importantly, if that is true, then you should have no problem punishing false accusers, right? If only 1 to 2% of accusations are false, then 98 to 99% of women have nothing to worry about. Why are you against punishing false accusers? But the Mgtow, the men who lap up their vicious whammon-hating crap, are more than another catchy manosphere acronym. They tap into a genuine terror of men who have spent their formative years watching whammons through the distorted mirror of pornography, who have consumed far too much music where whammons are routinely referred to as bitches, and who, crucially, see in Pound Me Too not a brave new world where sexual bullies get the punishment they deserve, but a world where the whammons is always believed. Oh my God. Everything about this statement is just bullshit. Let me correct it. They tap into the genuine terror of men who have spent their formative years watching their fathers, their uncles, their friends, their male role models get destroyed If not by blatantly false accusations, then by completely corrupt family courts. I know multiple men who've gotten a divorce after they caught their wife cheating on them, and she still got everything. That is why men are walking away. This is the truth you cannot hide. No amount of media spin is going to hide that fact. This is why I've said before that if the acronym ever becomes too toxic to use, just stop using it. Keep living your life. It's like the herbivore men in Japan. Do you think they all got together and decided to create that name for themselves? No, they each independently reached the same conclusion by observing the world around them, and then other people labeled them. With Mgtow, it's actually pretty similar. The vast majority of men who now call themselves Mgtow were living the same way before they even found out there was an acronym for it, before they even found out there was a label for them, before they found out there was apparently a group of like-minded men. No amount of media spin is going to prevent individual men from observing the world around them and coming to these conclusions. This is the one simple fact that these haters refuse to acknowledge. They could ban all talk of Mgtow tomorrow, and the movement would still keep growing in the same way the herbivore men did in Japan. Very few men are convinced to become Mgtow by hearing some Mgtow speak. The vast majority of men who hang out in these Mgtow circles were already living that way when they found those circles, and they're just happy to have like-minded men to talk to. So in a way, it's actually kind of funny watching these fruitless attempts at damage control. Not gonna work! So porn on tap, bitch-slapping beats, and a virulent Pound Me Too backlash. Did we really imagine men would be improved by all that? Oh, let me guess, is this cuck also going to be reeing about banning porn? I bet. The sad sacks of Mgtow presenting their fear and loathing of whammons as a political manifesto are only the tip of a toxic iceberg. Men, millions of men, now have general anxiety about whammons that simply did not exist as recently as the end of last century. That anxiety is widespread, mainstream, and real. Why do you think that is? You think it might possibly be because as feminazis gain more power, the laws are being further skewed in favor of women and against men? You think it might possibly have to do with the fact that men are getting a lot more risks and responsibilities piled on them, while the rewards they should be getting in return are being taken away? To go back to the analogy I always use for this, imagine you're working at your job, and then every week you get a 1 or 2% pay cut, but you're also expected to work an extra hour. How long would you put up with that before you finally quit? Because that's where men are right now. They keep piling shit on. They keep piling on risks and responsibilities, but they keep taking away the rewards we're getting for the risks and responsibilities. This is the reason why most men independently reach the same conclusion. Former U.S. Vice President Mike Pence proclaimed that he never dines alone with a whammons who is not his wife, which is a good call. And another thing I want to mention, notice that once rich and famous people started adopting these Mgtow mindsets, that's when a lot of these haters started getting really concerned. Because I still remember in the early days when all the feminazis and the trad cucks just brushed Mgtow off. It's just a bunch of no-life redneck, neckbeard, fat incel living in their mama's basements losers. Oh, just ignore them. Don't listen to them. No one wants them anyway. They're just mad they can't get laid. And then someone like Henry Cavill comes out and announces that he basically follows the Mike Pence rule and all that. Now suddenly they're scared. Now suddenly all these women who were hating on Mgtow were like, oh shit, this guy that I would actually want is telling me he doesn't want anything to do with me. Now they're suddenly getting worried. It's been so fun to watch that transition. While an orthopedic surgeon in Chicago told the New York Lies that he was never alone with a female colleague. Yeah, now that's a good policy, by the way. And if you ever have to have a meeting, like one-on-one, and you're a man, make sure there's a camera recording the whole interaction. Because that previous story I just recently covered about that Verizon guy who was falsely accused, security camera footage that proved the woman a liar is what exonerated him. Otherwise, the courts would have just listened and believed her. And even then, he still lost his job. Even though he had evidence to prove his innocence, they still fired him. Now, he won the legal battle afterwards, but his life was still ruined. So make sure that there's always a recording of all your interactions, and keep it forever, too. Because we're seeing now, it's a lot more common that whammons are down. Oh, 30 years ago, this guy did something to me. So you can't delete any of your old recordings. You got to keep that shit around forever. Because you never know. Like, let's say 30 years from now, you are a very prominent public figure, a very juicy target for extortion. You're going to have some of these coming your way. Or at the very least, make sure that the office that you're meeting in has glass. It's all windows all around. You got to make sure that everyone on the outside can see what's going on. And my livelihood is on the line, he said. If someone in your hospital says you had inappropriate contact with this woman, you get suspended for an investigation and your life is over. So how is this a bad thing that guys are recognizing this threat and adapting accordingly? So men who have never heard of Mgtow know the feeling. In a post-Pound Me Too survey in the U.S., 27% of men polled say that they now avoid one-to-one meetings with whammons. And in this culture of dread between the genders, we all lose. I've told you how we can fix it. If you refuse to do it, then that's it. And actually, I'll tell you why it can never be fixed. Almost every time I bring up topics like this, I always got some shrieking feminazi or cuck or something. Oh, but RGE, 90% of women don't identify as feminists. You can't let the few bad apples color your perception of the whole. Okay, so first off, I said earlier, women aren't actually the problem. It's the legal system that keeps siding with them and screwing men over. Fix the legal system, and maybe guys will be more willing to try. Second off, I call bullshit. Because while, yes, 90% of women may not refer to themselves as feminists, 100% of women have no problem reaping the benefits of feminism. So if you're talking to a woman and she claims to be anti-feminist, ask her what she's willing to give up to get men to come back to the table. I can pretty much guarantee you that 99.9% of them aren't willing to give up anything. In their minds, they're like, oh, no, I mean, I think things should stay as they are. I just don't want to take anything further from men. And meanwhile, the male perspective is, you've already taken too much to be worth the risk. You have to give something up to get us to come back. Whatever happened to give and take? So far, you've been doing nothing but taking. When are you going to give, huh? Rachel Sturm, a professor at Wright State University who worked on the research, said when men say, I'm not going to hire you, I'm not going to send you traveling, I'm going to exclude you from outings, those are steps back. Well, thank feminism for that. The Mgtow are sorry excuses for men, but what they represent is a profound shift in the way men and whammons relate. They are increasingly afraid to work with each other, to flirt with each other, to love each other. We are becoming terrified of what, not very long ago, was the most natural thing in the world. If only the cucks like this would actually go after the reason. They're attacking the symptom, not the problem. Actually, let's see. Who wrote this article? Tony Parsons. I'm going to have to keep tabs on this guy. I can't wait to read about this fucker's divorce in a few years and him crying like a little bitch that he got screwed over. Oh, the Schadenfreude is going to be real. Maybe if you were a real man, she wouldn't have left you. So once again, women are not the problem. The legal system is the problem. If it wasn't for the family courts and the entire rest of the system almost always siding with the woman, even if there's proof. Like, remember the Johnny Depp trial, right? Remember the recording he had of Amber Turd basically saying that, oh, no one's going to believe you. You're the man. I'm the woman. That is why there's so much distrust now. The vast majority of men who call themselves Mgtow would be willing to give women another shot if they weren't playing a rigged game. Fix the legal system first and then run your fucking mouth. Otherwise, just shut the fuck up. Yeah, cucks like this really piss me off. They are directing their rage at the guys who are just making the smart decision, when they could be campaigning to fix the system that's leading guys into this in the first place. But they're not going to do that, of course, because they're either male feminists or trad cucks. So almost the same thing in practice, really. But either way, keep crying, bitch. Because like I said earlier, even if you make the acronym Mgtow completely toxic, even if you make it illegal, even if the government shuts down every single Mgtow forum, website, YouTube channel on the planet, even if they made it a crime punishable by prison time to even talk about this stuff, you're still never gonna stop this from growing. Guys are independently coming to the same conclusion just by observing the world around them. Media spin cannot cover this up. It doesn't matter the lies you print in the media if if his observable life contradicts what the media's preaching. You could spew whatever bullshit you want. You're not going to stop a guy from reading this shit thinking, hey, you know what? How does that apply to my dad, to my uncle, to my best friend, to my boss, to my coworker? How does it apply to all those guys who got screwed over by the system? No one's buying your bullshit anymore. Just stop before you embarrass yourself further. Oh man, I am so excited to tell you guys right now that finally, after about a year of build-up and shilling, we have launched Blade Devil on Indiegogo, and so far it is doing so well thanks to awesome people like you. If you haven't backed it yet, then please check the links in the description and check out Blade Devil on Indiegogo. You will not be disappointed. Looking forward to seeing you there.